Ever since 2020, one of the biggest things that has been driving the US economy has been stimulus, and that doesn't change even to this day. But stimulus is starting to dry up. Some states and even the federal government are not sending out stimulus like it used to. But that could actually change, because today we're going to talk about additional stimulus payments that are coming out. We're going to talk about enhancements to payments that have been going out. We're going to talk about a $350 per month boost to the U.S. economy. We're also going to talk about a payment of $3,284 that's going to certain people in one specific state. And I want to start off by talking about what the federal government is asking for. But again, all I ask is if you can spend just 2 seconds, go ahead, hit that like button for the YouTube algorithm, and let's begin. So here's the first thing you need to know. Right now, Congress is trying to determine whether or not we should increase funding for certain agencies and groups, or should we decrease funding? That's the big question. But at this time, certain lawmakers are asking for additional relief to Social Security, more funding to Medicare. They want more money going to schools and to pay down student debt. But then others say, no, we need to really cut back and reduce spending. At this time, though, look what the White House is asking for. The White House just yesterday is asking Congress for $40 billion in additional funding to go to Ukraine. Yeah. They're not asking for additional funding for the American people. They're asking for additional $40 billion to go to Ukraine. Look at this. You can see it right here. It says Ukraine funding. The Biden administration is asking Congress for a total of $24 billion in military, financial, and humanitarian assistance for Ukraine. The request includes $13 billion in defense funds to assist Ukraine, $9.5 billion for equipment and replenishes the Pentagon stock, and $3.6 billion for continued military intelligence and other defense support. The request also includes $8.5 billion in funding for the State Department and U.S. agencies for international development to provide economic, humanitarian, and security assistance, as well as $2.5 billion through the Treasury Department. So Ukraine does not have to rely on financing through China or other coercive sources. Okay, we understand that. I don't think anybody is arguing that Ukraine needs help, but is it the fault of the American people? Because President Biden said as soon as Russia attacked Ukraine, years ago, President Biden came out and said that it was going to be pain for the American people, and we've experienced that this entire time. Okay, but why are we the ones that continue to pay this? Why is it on us? Why is it on the taxpayers? Why? That's what the American people are asking. Now, here's something else the American people want to know. What is going to be done for food stamps, for SNAP benefits, for Social Security, for the lower income households? Well, we don't know about Social Security yet. We know there's different proposals out there, some of which I talked about just yesterday. So if you didn't get a chance to go and watch that video, I highly recommend it. But here's the problem. Social Security needs to be addressed. Yes. The other one, SNAP benefits. Because until earlier this year, SNAP beneficiaries were receiving about almost $100 extra every single month. Yeah, it was called the supplemental allotment. They got an additional $95 per month or more, which was great because it helped out the American people, helped out lower income households, so they could actually afford food, which food has continued to go up in price. But here's the big question that I've been getting lately. Will food stamps increase because of inflation? Well, let's address that. Food is getting more and more expensive. One of the things that happens every single year, and this actually happens on October 1st of every single year, is food stamps sees a cost of living adjustment. Last year, it was a very good cost of living adjustment because food prices were near 10%. But this year, it's actually a little bit different. This year, SNAP benefits are going to be 3.5%. Okay? That's what they're projected to be as of today. So, just keep in mind, we still have a little ways to go, but very soon we're going to see the cost of living adjustment for food stamps, and according to reports, it's going to be 3.5%. So just figure out what your benefits are, multiply that and add 3.5% to that, and that would give you an idea of how much more you'd be getting. So if you have questions on that, you can always ask your questions down in the comment section below. Now, before we get to all the stimulus, before we get to what lawmakers are asking for, I want to show you something. This right here is something that we have been talking about for the past year. And the reason why is because next week is the 1-year anniversary from when this bill was, next week is when the White House is going to celebrate this, but they are celebrating the Inflation Reduction Act, okay? But I want to show you this because what President Biden said yesterday was very telling and something that we have been saying for the past year. Look at this. President Biden admits Inflation Reduction Act had less to do with reducing inflation than he originally said. Okay, so he called it the Inflation Reduction Act, but did it actually reduce inflation? Not really. Look what he said. He said, "I wish I hadn't called it that. It had less to do with reducing inflation than it does providing for alternatives that generate economic growth." And then goes on to say, and so we're now in a situation where if you take a look at what we're doing in the Inflation Reduction Act, we're literally reducing the cost of people being able to meet their basic needs. Okay? And he goes on to give an example. Even when there's inflation, there's a way to provide breathing room. He cited negotiating medical prices as one example. Okay. So they call it the Inflation Reduction Act, where everybody came out against that because they said this is not going to reduce inflation. This is actually going to prolong inflation. This is going to keep inflation high much longer than it's needed to be. Well, here's the other issue. President Biden is trying to do what he can to reduce or negotiate medical prices. The problem is some of these things actually don't go into effect until 2025. So he's calling it the Inflation Reduction Act, but it wasn't immediate. We have to wait. Again, major problem. He also says what they're trying to do is just reduce the cost of people being able to meet their basic needs. Basic needs like food. But when you pass this, you also didn't do anything for food stamps. That's a basic need. So food is a basic need, but yet we didn't address that. And instead of actually seeing the supplemental allotment continue, it ended. So now millions and millions of Americans are struggling just to put food on the table. But we still have Congress, obviously, or the White House, asking for additional $40 billion to go to Ukraine. It's interesting. Now, let's actually get to the stimulus, okay? Because here's what we know. Right now, and this is a big one, Republicans are cracking down on the child tax credit payments because they want it done. Republicans really want this to pass, okay? Why? Why are Republicans pushing for the child tax credit now? Well, here's the key word right here. Look at this. It says vulnerable. GOP lawmakers say helping families with children cope with inflation is good policy and good politics. That is not just Republicans, though. Okay? That is Democrats as well. The key word is vulnerable. People that are worried that their seat is going to be taken in this next election, they're pushing for the child tax credit payments. Remember, those are the $250 or $300 per month boost or increases, right? Those payments to families with children. That's $300 per child. That right there is currently being discussed. That right there is something that more and more lawmakers are looking into, and there's actual active discussions on that right now, because that is something that they're looking into and really want to push. Okay? So keep that in mind. The child tax credit payments are looking like they are going to come back, especially if, again, there's bipartisan support here, but the key is who's going to propose it? Is this going to look like a Democratic win, a Republican win, or a bipartisan win? If it's a bipartisan bill, then that right there could pass. But if it's a Republican bill, Democrats aren't going to go for it. If it's a Democratic bill, Republicans are going to oppose that. You know why? Because they don't want Democrats to come out and say, hey, we passed our bill. We're giving households and families additional $300 per month. No, that would be a huge loss for Republicans, especially right before a presidential election. Now, let's get to some more stimulus. Look at this. It says right here, Americans are still, that doesn't even make sense, but $3,284 receiving payments. This is actually in Alaska. It's because of Alaska's Permanent Fund Dividend, their PFD. They send this out every single year in different tranches. Says the funds are a portion of the state's 2022 energy revenues that are redistributed to residents every year. So, $662 of the payment is non-taxable. It's their non-taxable energy relief payment. The rest is considered taxable. Now, those classified as eligible, not paid, will receive their check on August 17th. So, big news there. You could potentially get $3,000 very soon if you are from Alaska. Now, look at this one. So right here, Rhode Island drivers eligible for $2,500. Says the state program in Rhode Island is offering residents up to $2,500 for purchasing an electric vehicle. Eligible drivers can get up to $2,500 for a new fully electric and $1,500 for a used one. Okay, more money, more stimulus. But it doesn't stop there. Look at this one. A new guaranteed income program in Texas. Says in Harris County, Texas, a proposed guaranteed income program would give low-income residents monthly $500 checks. The county is home to Houston, the country's fourth most populous city. The program, called Uplift Harris, would cost $20.5 million if it is approved. Recipients would be randomly selected from the lowest income zip codes in the county. Okay, again, more stimulus. Last one I just want to read you right here. This one says rebates between $240 to $975 are on the way. In Pennsylvania, eligible residents can still claim rebates worth as much as $975. The property tax rent rebate program offers low-income residents who are elderly or disabled relief on their property tax or rent payments. To be eligible, residents must be 65 years of age or older, a widow or a widower, age 50 or older, or a resident with a disability who is at least 18 years old. The income limit is $35,000 per year for homeowners. Now, here's what I want to tell you. Right now, and we went through Pennsylvania, we went through Texas, we went through Rhode Island, right, and Alaska, 4 different places. That right there is just showing you that there's so much money out there. States, counties, cities are giving this money out. And they're doing this because they see a need. But, again, it doesn't stop there. Look at this. It says stimulus check update. Payments worth up to $500 to be sent to qualified Californians in 8 days. This was actually on August 8th. Today, it's August 11th. So, just understand, that would be 5 days from today. But it says down here, Long Beach, California residents who applied and were accepted to receive payments from the city's Guaranteed Income Pilot Program, providing a $500 a month for 12 months to 250 qualifying families with children, will see their funds in 8 days. Now, here's the big thing. The money's there, okay? I keep saying this, that stimulus payments aren't done. They're not done. We still have so much money to be distributed to the American people. The problem is that the majority of people right now are looking at stimulus from a federal level. The federal government is not going to provide a lot of stimulus outside of the child tax credit payments. They tried to provide student loan forgiveness of up to $10,000, but and that would have been at least about a $350 to $400 per month relief plan for the American people. The problem is it didn't get passed. There was a lot of people pushing against it, which is why President Biden is going a different route. But keep in mind, the stimulus that is coming, and there's a lot of it, you have to be on the lookout for it, because if you're not, some of these application windows open up for 1 week. Some they open up, and as soon as the application is full, as soon as there's more applicants than are needed, they shut it down. So some of these are only open up for days. So keep in mind, all you gotta do is go to Google, type in your state and stimulus. So it could be Washington State stimulus. You could type in, Texas stimulus, Texas relief, Texas assistance, Harris County, Texas stimulus, right? Houston, Texas stimulus. That's all you have to do, and multiple pages are going to pop up of different things that are talking about stimulus. Find the programs, apply to them, and get the money that you desperately need. So that's what we got for you guys today. As always, thank you guys for watching. Consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next one.